I'm back. Welcome to Glowland Season 2, Episode 1. Today, as you saw from the title, I am talking about sort of how my skincare journey has been over the past couple of months since I last recorded. In particular, the past 6 weeks, which included the biggest breakout that I've had in a while, and just a couple of changes, things I've added to my skincare routine, and sort of a shift from what I was doing during winter in Pittsburgh versus spring in Los Angeles, because obviously those are two very different climates to work with. So I hope you're ready. Let's dive right in. So I wanted to start by sort of talking about how I broke out last month really bad. It wasn't bad compared to how I used to break out in high school and college. Like that, I used to get cystic acne back then, but this breakout was definitely the worst that I've had since going through Accutane, since sort of finding products that work for me. It happened at the beginning of May. I had just gotten back from Pittsburgh. I had just finished moving out of my old apartment fully. And I tried a new product and my skin did not like it. I only used it for a couple of days. And I won't name it because I'm sure it's fine for other people, but my skin did not like it. And I broke out really bad on my forehead and a little bit in my cheeks. And I'm still actually sort of recovering from the breakout. But it was bad to the point that I started wearing actual foundation again. I usually only wear foundation when I'm going to an event or going out on the weekends and stuff like that. But I was wearing foundation to work because my skin was just all over the place, and I didn't really need to. My office doesn't really care about that stuff, but I just felt the need to, because I was oh my gosh, I haven't had acne like this in forever, and I slightly was freaking out, but I was also okay, I just need to remove that product, stop using it, and just figure out, do what I know to do best, which is sort of take care of acne prone skin. And I realized I haven't had to do stuff in so long that I almost forgot what to do and what not to do. So I think my first couple weeks I was a bit harsh with my skin. So the first couple of weeks of breakouts, I was oh my God, well, I need to throw all of my acne fighting ingredients at my skin, and I'll sort of get into what all of those things were. But then the couple of weeks after that, I was okay, let's pare it back. Let's calm down. The worst of it had calmed down, but now it was recovery mode. And sort of just things that are more maintainable, things that I can do over a period of time that wouldn't further harm my skin. And then now the last couple of weeks 5 and 6 of recovering, have been more just that same maintenance, and then also a lot of barrier care, caring for my skin barrier and making sure that it's recovered fully, and dark spots, just trying to get rid of all the dark spots and scarring that is left over. So I'll go through each of those stages and sort of how my routine changed throughout all of them, and then I'll get to what I'm doing nowadays as we get into summer. I'm recording this right before summer begins. It's a week before the solstice, and it's, definitely the weather has changed since the beginning of all this. So beginning of May, I break out. I'm slightly freaking out. I started by, I said, getting rid of that product. I stopped using it. And I started to incorporate retinol more frequently into my routine. Now, before I broke out, I was using retinol like 2 to 3 times a week max. Part of that because it was cold in the winter and early spring. So I was used to not using it so much because it dries out my skin so much. But I started incorporating it more because, of course, here in LA, it was in like the 60s and low 70s, and it wasn't so hard to keep my skin moisturized and hydrated and everything while using retinol more frequently. So I upped my retinol to like 4 or 5 times a week. That's kind of a lot if you aren't used to retinol. I am, of course. I mean, Accutane is like sort of one form of vitamin A, and then topical retinol, which I still use, the like Grand Active Retinoid from The Ordinary. That's another kind of vitamin A. So my skin's good with it. I really just cut back during the winter because it just dries me out so much, and that's, that comes with its own challenges and problems. So I kind of upped that to help with my skin turnover, and also drying out my skin also sort of helps to dry out the active acne, because I was getting a lot of whiteheads, and I've never like been super prone to whiteheads. I was always more of like an under the skin cystic acne kind of gal. But I think, just the way that my skin specifically reacted to this, I got so many more whiteheads, and they were like bigger and like a little bit painful, and I really needed to sort of get all of the like gunk out of them. So I was using retinol most nights, and then the nights I didn't use it, I was exfoliating with either a lactic acid serum to help with some of like the dry skin. I wanted to like get that top layer of skin exfoliated more quickly, or I was going in with the Dermalogica microfoliant. And the first 2 weeks were the roughest. It did calm down by the end of that, but by the end of it, I realized I was then no longer reacting to that product. I was then sort of reacting to the harsh treatments that I was using. I was also sort of just like doing extractions. I was sort of like popping particularly big bumps and using like benzoyl peroxide on them, and then washing that off before I like got in the shower, and then going in with retinol after that. So that's pretty harsh. That was a pretty harsh course of treatment. I wouldn't recommend that for somebody who like regularly has acne, for somebody who's continuously struggling with acne, because of course that's a really harsh thing to be doing to your skin basically, every other day, if not every day. I really only did that because I knew that this was a temporary breakout, and I knew that I just wanted to like get rid of the texture, the bumps and stuff themselves, and then deal with the consequences later. And that was part of why I was like, okay, I'm going to use foundation during this time, because I was like, if I just sort of flatten everything for the most part and there's some scarring, I can at least use foundation and concealer to cover that up for the next couple of weeks. And, that did turn into a little bit longer than that, but I knew it was temporary. So I did that sort of harsh routine for the first couple of weeks. And then, like I said, weeks 3 and 4 were way more about like finishing off, like sort of like calming down the breakout itself, and then going more into recovery. So at that point, I decided for recovery, I needed to really focus on hydrating my skin and starting to address dark spots. So I cut back on some of my retinol use, and I upped my Dermalogica microfoliant use. I did that because that microfoliant has like enzymatic and exfoliation and like chemical exfoliation, but it uses like salicylic acid. So sort of clearing out my pores and start like helping to get rid of a lot of the sort of dead skin and everything, because I had a lot of scabs at that point, and I wanted to sort of like slowly but surely get rid of those scabs, but I didn't want to just like let them fall off super slowly, because that takes so long. And I had sort of accepted that I was going to have a lot of dark spots, so I didn't mind sort of taking off those scabs a little bit early if it meant that I could just like have smoother texture overall and cover it up with makeup and like use a bunch of sunscreen to like really lessen how quick or how long it would take to get rid of dark spots. And that's another thing that I really did throughout this. Throughout this entire debacle, I made sure that I was like applying copious amounts of sunscreen, reapplying anytime I was going to go out into the sun. If I was going for a walk or like before I left work for the day, I'd make sure that I got like another application in, other than my, initial one that I do every morning, just to really make sure that all of that like dry skin and like if I took off a scab, if there's like new skin underneath and if there's dark spots, I wanted all of that to be protected and to not like make the situation any worse than it already was, because that's a whole other kind of damage. And I already, as everyone knows from season 1, I already am a big stickler for like sunscreen use to protect from like aging and dark spots. So, that was just I doubled down during this like 6-week process. So weeks 3 and 4, like I said, much more of the microfoliant, a little bit less of the retinol. But during those 2 weeks, I found I had way less of a breakout. It was less severe, but like I still was having like new spots pop up here and there. And I realized that my skin, like my barrier, was probably pretty compromised from the harsh treatments that I had used and just all of the madness, all of the exfoliation. So I started to really up my sort of moisturization with snail mucin A. I have the CosRX like snail mucin essence, and then I also have their snail mucin moisturizer. So I used both of those morning and night, as well as the Crave Beauty barrier relief, great barrier relief. And that serum really is meant to like help repair your barrier when you've done a bunch of stuff to your skin. It's great if you're like me and you exfoliate a lot. You should do something like that. Use a product like one of the ones I mentioned to help restore your barrier. And it's also great if you go out in the sun and you have like a sunburn. Once you've already calmed it down with maybe like aloe or something, after that, I'd recommend using something like Great Barrier Relief or their like body lotion. They have like a barrier relief body lotion, and that just helps to calm everything down and get your skin healed and like sort of back to normal, and get it to its normal level of protecting itself, because of course your skin has its own level of built-in protection. And all of these products that I'm using are really to aid that and to, just like bolster the built-in protection that I already have. That and to, of course, address specific concerns like dark spots. So that's sort of what I used to start healing all the damage that had been done. At that point, I was still concealing everything. I still had a lot of dark spots, but I really wanted to just like focus on repairing, protecting, and trying to get rid of the last of my breakouts. And then I entered what I'll call like phase 3 of all of this, which is the past 2 weeks, weeks 5 and 6. And the past 2 weeks have really been focused on, the breakout is like almost completely gone. Like I have like little to no active acne now. I'm back to sort of how I was before all of this. And I've just been really focused on moisturizing in like a balanced way. I don't want to clog my pores, but I also really want my skin to have enough hydration and moisturization so that it can quickly heal itself. If your skin is too dried out, it makes it hard for it to heal itself. Of course, if you're like oily, you probably don't have the same issues of like your skin taking forever for like a mark to heal or like something to like scab over and fix itself. But if you have normal to dry skin, it's really important to have that hydration in your skin and to moisturize it and make sure that, you know, you sort of have a good environment for your skin to do what it does naturally. And so I got like a new moisturizer. I got like an Innisfree green tea hyaluronic moisturizer that I've been using at night to help with this whole process, because I have been using a small amount of retinol every single night. And once again, that's kind of a lot if your skin isn't used to retinol, if you're not accustomed to it like I am. But I have been using that every night, and then I've been doing a very light, quick cleanse with my daily microfoliant every morning. I'm not going in like I usually would and doing like a 1-minute cleanse with it. I've just been doing like 20 to 30 seconds, not leaving it on or anything, because I really don't want to dry out my skin too much. But I do have a lot of like leftover sort of like flakiness and just like scabbing and stuff like that, and dead skin that's trying to, you know, finish coming off, sloughing off. And that microfoliant is sort of helping in the morning when the retinol has done its work and sort of there's a lot of like dead skin. That morning exfoliation has been helping to like get rid of that, so I'm not just like walking into the day with all these like flakes and stuff, which is, it sounds gross, but it's like, you know, totally normal. I mean, that's what happens when we have scarring on our skin. It's gonna scab and then dry up and flake off. So I'm just slightly speeding up that process. And once again, really, really, really focusing on sunscreen application, to make sure that everything is protected while I do that. Because when you're exfoliating as much as I am, your skin is way more prone to like dark spots. It's way more like sun sensitive. So sunscreen really is key for me right now. And it's getting sunnier because it's, you know, becoming summer. So obviously just inherently there's more sunlight, and I should be even more careful about the sun. Yeah. And aside from all that, I've just been like I've reintroduced an alpha arbutin serum. I sort of stopped using it for a little while, but with all the dark spots, I've reintroduced that to help fade those spots a little bit more quickly. I've sort of gotten past the worst of it, and I feel a lot better about how my skin is doing nowadays. So takeaways I have from all of this. For one thing, obviously never going to use that product again. And I will be going back to sort of sticking with what I have been using for the most part. I think it's pretty easy to avoid doing anything like this again, as long as I don't use any products that I like know for sure are probably too crazy for my skin. My skin tends to not like a lot of things that have like shea butter. Like that's usually not good. It doesn't like a lot of really occlusive things. I was thinking, I was shopping at Sephora yesterday, and I was like, maybe I should get like a silicone, like a dimethicone based primer, so that I can like start doing more foundation and stuff. And then I was like, well, I'm probably going to go back to not really wearing foundation and concealer, like, like before the breakout. Like I really do. My biggest flex is that my foundation has for a while just been like the Glossier Skin Tint, which if you know, like it really has zero coverage. I literally just use it for like, if I've put on a lot of sunscreen, I just use it to like bring my skin back from being like a little bit ghostly to being my actual skin tone, because the skin on my face is just so light because I use so much sunscreen. So I just like am bringing myself back to like my natural tan color, but I'm not covering much up. I just use concealer to like spot conceal. And I'm happy to get back to that because I do not like wearing foundation every day, and I don't think my skin really likes it either. So I was thinking about getting like some kind of like silicone based primer, but then I realized I don't want to put anything super occlusive on my face for like long periods of time. So I'm going to stick to just like basically using like a non-comedogenic face oil as my primer and sticking to like really glowy natural makeup because that's it works for me. I like it. It's really comfortable on my face. It doesn't feel like tight on my face because I hate it when I do a full face of makeup and my face feels just like tight and dry. Like I really don't like anything mattifying nowadays, now that I am not as oily as I used to be. So yeah, main takeaway, obviously, even after Accutane, like I still can break out. Like it is still very much possible, and I need to keep avoiding anything that's like a little too crazy for my skin. Once an acne prone girly, I guess always an acne prone girly. Yeah, but other than that, really, it's just, I'm like, wow, I really have gained so much knowledge over the years about how to tackle things for my own skin. And I really realized that there are just certain things that work great for me that I'm like, that would not work for another person. Like another person whose skin isn't so used to retinol, like they would have burned their face off by now, probably trying to follow my routine. Or somebody who doesn't use sunscreen consistently, their skin would not be happy with them right now. They probably would have like gotten some level of like chemical burn from like using all this stuff on their face and then going out into the sun without sunscreen. So like my routine definitely is my own. And I would not recommend it to anyone else in good faith. I think definitely everybody needs to find what works best for them. And I love giving people recommendations, but I do tend to like ask people like, what do you use now? What is something that like has like, what does not work for you? What's something you've tried in the past that hasn't worked? What's something that your skin has liked? And I like to give them really personalized recommendations. But like what I just discussed the past 6 weeks, I'm like, no, this was really just like what I knew my skin needed. And I'm like gonna like de-influence anybody listening right now and say, don't go out and buy all the things that I mentioned. Maybe try 1 or 2 of them, but for the most part, don't buy my routine. Like, don't do this. To go like listen to the reasons that I use what I use more so than the exact things that I use, so that you can figure out maybe things in your routine that don't work for you, or maybe there's a type of product that you should add, but you should, do a little more research into exactly which one to get rather than just going with what other people use. Because the product that I tried out, I got partially because I saw it on TikTok and I thought, oh, other people have had good results. I'll have good results. And that's partially why I didn't want to like say what it is, because I'm like, well, it's not like it's going to give everybody a massive breakout. Like it really was just me and my skin my body just didn't like it. And yeah, skincare really is like so personal and just so individual. And there's like a few products that we can all agree are kind of like holy grail, like all like little to no people have a reaction, like CeraVe or Cetaphil, like those moisturizers. Almost nobody is going to react poorly to those. Like those are like the most basic things. They're like zero fragrance, non-comedogenic, super basic things that like they have like ceramides that like your skin will like, and that your skin, sort of needs in order to like heal well and to just be taken care of. But obviously, there are exceptions to everything, and there are products that you're going to want instead that have a little more targeted of ingredients. So yeah, like I said, everything is personal. Really shop for yourself. Don't buy things for your skin when it's just because it worked for me. Because yeah, my skincare journey has been long and it's been winding, and my skin's been through a lot, and the past 6 weeks really reminded me of how far I've come and how much knowledge I've gained over the years. And I'm really, really looking forward to getting back into this podcast and just sharing things I've learned. I've got the next few episodes planned out. I don't have anything past that, like really concretely planned out. So it's going to be an interesting time. I mentioned before, I'm adjusting to the LA climate, which is like this weird thing of having like almost muggy, sort of humid mornings with no sun, and then like these hot afternoons where I'm just like sweating as soon as I walk outside in the sun, and then like these cold, arid, dry nights. And so I've been like adjusting what I do with my skin throughout the day and depending on what activities I'm going to do and everything. And that's been interesting. And LA also I've mentioned this in like episodes before, but there's just such a different culture around self-care and wellness here. And there's a lot more things. Some are good, some are gimmicky. A lot more services, products, everything meant to give you whatever glow, different places you can go for like whatever treatments and tweakments and whatever. And I'm going to explore a couple of those this season and sort of tell you my takeaways from those. So I'm so excited. I've never been like a treatment or tweakment girly before. I've never been one to like go and get services done. I think I mentioned before that I hate massages because I like don't like people touching me. Like literally that's like half the reason that I haven't gone and gotten things done. And the other half is just like, like not the lack of availability to me, whether by geography or by like price. But in LA, there's just like so much of everything, and it's so much more accessible here that I'm excited to just like take this podcast in like more of a skincare from like a wellness perspective this season, and not just like what products I use, but also, different things that we can do from the inside out, or different services that you can do once in a blue moon as part of your skincare journey. Yeah, so that's all I have for you guys today. Thank you so much for listening. I'm super excited. Check out my Instagram at Glowland Skin. I'll be, posting updates here and there. You can always DM me on there. I do be on Instagram. I am not much of a TikTok user, and it just betrayed me, as I said. So I'm going to go back to not being much of a TikTok user. No, I'm kidding. I'll still go on there occasionally and watch things, but I really do be on the gram like that. So yeah, hit me up, reach out, and yeah, I guess rate and review the podcast. I don't think I ever asked anyone to, like, last season, but yeah, I guess go do that. It helps this podcast reach more people, and yeah, this season is it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be cool, and yeah, I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.